We've been passing each
Thank
other
you.
like ships in the night for 10 years.
It's a good opportunity for me to be with you, Harold, today in this program.
It's my opportunity to be with you, and I'm really glad to have you here so we can find
Thanks a
out
lot.
all about what you've been up to, because we've been friends for a long time, and I'm looking forward to this. And welcome very much to Conversation. A pleasure to welcome to the program Abdul Omar. He's a Ph.D., and he's a journalist, and he's a producer also of television, and he's Muslim, and he's originally from Egypt, and he's got a very interesting take on the human condition, particularly, I would presume, from a Muslim perspective. And all of that is going to be contained in this program, and so welcome, Abdul, very much.
Thank you very much, Harold. Thank you.
My pleasure. We've known each other a long time. This is the first
That's
time
true, that's true. But first time to be on your program.
Yes, the first time we did it in front of the camera. I wonder if you could, this is the way I do, could you share your own background? That's the way I always wade into.
Yeah, that's right.
When you were born and raised, or where you were born and raised, and your education, some of that. And then we'll talk about, with that being the frame for the conversation for an hour, this will be the Abdul Omar hour.
That's
and
true.
we're going to do that, but then we're going to talk about some issues of Muslim world conditions.
That's true. Well, my name is Abdul Omar. I was born in Alexandria, Egypt, many years ago. I finished first Alexandria University for my BA first, business.
You did business there?
First. First
and
BA.
your family was in Alexandria?
Alexandria.
That's an ancient, rich
Egypt.
city, isn't it?
Beautiful city, Alexandria. It's different now from the past.
Is it the same location of the ancient library at
Yeah,
Alexandria?
that's correct. Yeah, they built a new library now with the help with the new government. The new library, it's much bigger, and it has a big collection of books, and it's also a target for all visitors who will come.
Yeah, and it also has if I understand, I've seen it also has there's part of that has a big commitment to electronic communication and so forth.
They have a lot of equipment and being donated by Europe and the United States.
Are you familiar with the history of the library at Alexandria that burned?
Yeah,
and is that not a major factor in the history of Alexandria?
That was a disaster. That that long
Maybe you
time
could
ago.
share a little bit the library, so if you know a little bit about it in ancient times.
I don't know much,
okay.
But I know it's burned by the Roman, as far as I know, when they're trying to. We had a war at this time in Alexandria a long time ago, and there was a big disaster, and they lost a lot of things, I mean, books and information, knowledge, you know.
Yeah.
But now with the new technology, we have a new library just to renew the old history again.
Yeah.
Comes back.
Yeah.
Comes back.
It's one of those really sad events in history that the library burned, because they had. I've seen some people say, think of universities. Now, you went on to do a PhD, and so with the universities, they think in Europe, Bologna was very early, Oxford was early, but the earliest university was the University of Alexandria. And so that's interesting to come from the place which
But you still remember in history, I mean, you never forget that was a library, big library, and very valuable at that time, many years ago, and we still remember, the history still remember that library.
Yeah. When you were there, your family setting, was it warm and intellectually inclined? Nasser, was Nasser, he was in office?
He was a president until 1970.
And you were...
When he died.
When you were
I graduated mid-60.
Mid-60s, okay.
Mid-60. And then after graduation, I joined the Egyptian media right away.
You did?
Yeah, right away, from Alexandria to Cairo. So I was lucky to be a member of the Egyptian television.
Okay. It was national?
Owned by the government, yeah.
You didn't have you didn't have a private sector television business?
No, we don't have that.
You do not have, right?
No, until recently they started having private channels. But now, until 2000 something, only owned by the government.
Yeah, and things when you
radio and television owned by the government.
In your college and formative years, Nasser was in control in Egypt.
That's correct. When I joined the Egyptian television, Nasser was the president.
I can remember, I just was relating to you, I hitchchiked through Egypt back in 1957 when I was even young and more foolish than I am now, which is hard to imagine, but I hitchhiked through. But I remember going to a movie house, and they had censor on the movie, that it had passed the censor thing. Was there a tight control over the media in Egypt when you were growing up?
Well, I suffered
And was there objection to that, or what was the attitude of the people toward what would be thought of as an independent freedom to criticize the people in authority in Egypt under Nasser, let's say?
Okay, we'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Before, during Nasser, I was in television, I told you, we had a hard time showing shots in interview, whatever they say, whatever this reaction, we go back to the editing suite and we have to cut it out, and we have to do other things. So until
to meet the demands of the censorship board.
Their demands.
Because you were tied into the
tied to the control, and they have regulations, and don't say this, don't say that, and don't take the camera there, and don't do this kind of thing. We suffered a lot.
We're both old enough to remember that television was just coming in. I don't know, you're probably not old enough. I can remember when there was no television. Can you remember that in your
Egypt until 1960 was no television.
No television at all?
No, until it came July 1960. Black and white.
Yeah, transistor radio was a big thing. I think when the transistor radio came,
all over
the Arab world.
In the villages, even in the small villages in Egypt, was very popular.
And Nasser was popular?
Nasser, until 1967 was
with the 67 war
was so popular.
Yeah.
And but after that things went down. And
were you, when you were at television, you said you did business?
No, my degree was business administration.
Yeah.
That's the way it started with. But after that, I took other things. You know, with the media, I took master in TV and radio.
In Egypt,
Cairo,
okay.
Cairo.
And was your family professional? Your father and mother, were they professional class
No,
in Egypt?
the college graduate, my two brothers, but my father, he did a long time ago. I was too young when he died.
He died, yeah.
So
how old were you when he died, do you remember?
8 years.
I was only 13 when my father died.
I don't remember him.
And I remember him, but I don't remember him nearly as well as I would like to. He had a great sense of humor that it's hard to appreciate unless you've got some adult years behind you, you know, to fully understand and appreciate the... you had a couple brothers who were also professionally...
everyone is dead now.
Everybody in your family has passed?
Is dead now.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Most of them in heaven.
It goes like that. But did a lot of the people in Egypt, I don't know how many people there were, 30 million, 40 million when you were growing up?
That
the
time?
population. Was a large
20.
percentage of the population going to university? You did.
Yeah, so many. During the government of Nasser, he opened the way to the university education.
He did?
Yeah, he did that.
Expanded the university.
No tuition fees. I mean,
no tuition fees.
Yeah, at that time, and was so easy. But according to high school, what you call marks and other things, according to what you get in high school.
Yeah.
And then you go to certain college. Business, medical, medicine, college of medicine.
Yeah, right, like that. But like in Europe, it used to be that the university was reserved for just a few. There were only a few who went to university. When my father and mother were born in 1940, no, I mean in 1900, and the people who graduated from high school they were born in that year, only about 40% of the people graduated from high school.
Yeah.
In the United States, that was.
Okay.
And it was even more elite in Europe than it was in America. Then we had all these state universities and so forth. I was just wondering, was there a general encouragement of everybody being educated, boys and girls and so forth, in Egypt? And you had a high literacy rate?
This is the benefit of that time, that education was high. And now they built so many universities. It used to be only 3 major ones, Alexandria, Cairo, and one called Ain Shams.
Where's that?
It's a suburb of Cairo, near Heliopolis.
Was that a technical oriented?
No, it was general, same thing as Cairo. And now they have hundreds.
Yeah, right. I guess that's going on all over the world. Education is growing.
And now we have private university also.
Private are opening up. Yeah, okay, that sort of thing.
So
you had the American University of Beirut, and there was one in Cairo also.
We have one in Cairo, Tahrir Square.
What was the attitude of the people as you were growing up, young men in that, about the colonial period with the British and so forth, and there had been a retreat from
They were against the British, of course.
It was against the British.
Yeah.
There was a strong animus against colonization.
I mean, everyone was educated to be against imperialism.
Against imperialism. Say that word again.
Imperialism.
Imperialism. That's a word that we don't hear very much now in the America, but it's a word that had a lot of meaning to a lot of people within what would be Egypt or within the Arab world.
Yeah.
Because they had been colonized by Europeans.
Egypt
French,
first, and you know, Libya was Italy, and this kind of thing. Sudan was British also. And
so among the Arab, and you got the Arabs about 22% of the Muslim population of the world, I think. But among them, there is a strong. It'd be good for us in America to understand. There's a strong animus against colonization or colonialism among those people that we perhaps are not adequately sensitive to or aware of how important that is to those people. Is that correct?
Yeah.
It still is?
Yeah.
Okay, so that still is a result of the colonial period that sort of began to end after the Second World War, I guess.
Because this area, Middle East, and most of this country were, you know, under the rule of British, sometimes the French and this kind of things.
Right.
So they suffered a lot from it.
There was a lot of suffering. Half the population of Libya had been decimated, killed.
Yeah,
killed.
Like, Italian.
And in Algeria, the French, the battle for
the French
Algeria
also
was
same
horrible.
Thing.
The French had a hell of a time getting out of Algeria, and it was a mark of an era. And that's something that should be understood better, perhaps, by the American or the world population.
You should know, you should understand that, you know, those people suffered from this kind of imperialism or colonialism, whatever you call it.
Imperialism,
Imperialism. And they had to fight back, you know. You mentioned Algeria. Algeria lost 1 million citizens.
It was awful.
Yeah.
Just awful. And you had people, you had French that had been down there 500 years, and they thought they had a claim.
But now they are independent. I'm glad they have their own self now.
Still a lot of trouble. They had that Islamist thing going a few years ago.
This is a different story now.
Well, okay. Now, one other thing in terms of that colonial thing, because one of the major issues is still there. We got Iraq and everything now, but it's a Palestinian question. And does the Arab world, in your view, see Israel and after 48 being a representation of that Western European colonial attitude toward that region? Or how do they see the state of Israel? And why is there such animus directed at Israel, which is the only bastion of Western colonialism in the eyes of many people of the world? Could you share that with us, Jeff?
Yeah, I see it from my point of view that Israel came as a stranger at that time, you know, this part of, you know, this is, if you look at the Middle East or the Arab world, they all Arabs, they all, most of them, you know, Muslim and other things. So Israel is a strange member of this area. I mean,
do the Arabs or the Muslims of that see Israel as Europeans?
Yeah.
As the Europeans had been French?
That's correct.
They
represent
French,
Europe.
They do, in the minds of the Israelis. I mean, in the mind of the Arab.
Because the race is different. I mean, well, look at them. Most of them, they coming from especially East Europe.
Yeah.
They are not coming
Ashkenazi,
from, not coming from America or France. Most of them, they coming from East Europe. And those people came at the time and caused a disaster for the Palestinian population at that time. People still suffering until now.
And they are now in Palestine. And Nasser was a rallying point, and he was a pan-Arabist. He was counseling a united Arab presence, I believe.
Yeah, at that time, yeah. He was leading them.
Leading in that direction.
Against, of course.
He was secular?
Nasser?
Yeah.
No, not secular.
Not secular.
No, well, he was a real Muslim and everything, but he was talking about Arab nationalism.
Arab nationalism, okay.
To get the Arab together.
Saddam Hussein was pan-Arab, or had pan-Arab leanings, to have a united with the Ba'ath. I mean, he wanted to have a, you know, the idea, is the idea of a pan-Arab sentiment one where the Arab nation as a whole would be able to unite in common purpose, maybe against Israel or against something else? Is that dead now? Is that gone? The idea that inspired so many people under Nasser?
It's different now. It's changed since Nasser died. I mean, that was high until 1970. It was too high. Arab nationalism, the unity, to get together and to be one nation, language, one race, one then. So
That is one language, isn't it?
of course,
From Mesopotamia to
from
Mauritania?
from east to west. Or
One
whatever.
can understand one another, their dialects, but one can understand?
No, the only dialects you can understand, the heavy one, which is Moroccan sometimes, Mauritania, Algeria sometimes. You mean that the dialect is heavy a little bit,
Right.
like here. You mean from the south. Sometimes you meet someone.
I have a hard time understanding some people from down south sometimes.
That's correct.
Yeah, right.
The same thing. So they
Yeah.
have, even in Egypt, Upper Egypt was close to Aswan, and this is the other governorate, this area close to Luxor. When they come to Cairo and speak, some words you don't understand, even in Egypt, locally. So, but Arab is Arab. Arabic language is Arabic language. The same letters and same things and same.
And you don't have ancient Arabic, like in Israel they have Hebrew, or you study Hebrew, or you still classical Hebrew if you went to university, or Hebrew school, or something. But I don't know what it is. Then they have Ben Yehuda, they have modern Hebrew. You don't have modern Arabic and ancient or classical Arabic, or
No,
is
no,
that
so Arabic is Arabic.
So Arabic is
Yeah,
Arabic,
it's the
right?
same thing.
And it's the language of the Quran.
Holy Quran.
Uh-huh. So that means then that the people in Indonesia who are not Arabic but are Muslim will understand somewhat through the Arabic language.
They can recite Quran perfectly in Arabic, but
In
if
Arabic.
if I talk to them Arabic, they don't catch everything.
They don't. They catch some.
Maybe some words, but the different language.
Do you think there's an affinity between the people far flung, the Ummah, the broader Ummah, 1.4 billion people of Muslim faith and so forth, all the way out to Indonesia and beyond, and
Yeah,
so forth,
Indonesia.
that there is a camaraderie or
Malaysia.
a feeling of association among all those people, even though the Arabs...
Now we talk about it's two different things. You're talking about language, which you get those Arab together, language. We talk about Islam, Muslim, so get the Muslim countries together. Pakistan doesn't speak Urdu.
They speak Urdu.
Iran doesn't speak Arabic.
They
They
speak
speak
Farsi.
Farsi. But they are still Muslim, so they're a member of Muslim world. From what the Atlantic Ocean to Pacific Ocean, whatever they call it. So they still speak. Still Muslim, but they speak different language.
And the Muslim is important to them. It's important, and is there camaraderie, or a sense of camaraderie or association among those people across that far-flung geographical area?
Yeah.
Or do Indonesians think they're Indonesian, or do you think Iraq? I mean, how strong is the nationalism of the various states compared to the association with Muslim as a uniting principle among the peoples in that part of the world, is what I'm trying to get at.
No, they are independent. I mean, each country is independent. Pakistan is an independent country. Is a member of Muslim world, but has nothing to do with Arabs. I mean, if you want...
But there is a uniting factor in the Islam.
They have an organization, Muslim organization, where they connect all these countries together. Even Senegal and Mali and this in Africa.
Yeah, that's
they are
right.
Muslim
Parts of
countries.
Nigeria, I think.
Nigeria.
North, yeah.
So those are members of that organization. It's
Yeah.
a Muslim organization.
Well, the British used to say divide and conquer, so they would try and divide all the people up in, or the Romans up in Bactria or whatever, they would try and divide the people so that they could assert their control.
They control them.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So if the Muslim world is all divided into countries and everything, that's for the benefit of the imperialists.
That's correct.
And the
That's
imperialists are, let's say, the United States now.
I don't know.
No, I mean, you were talking about that. It would have been the British in the terms when you were fighting it. But in real terms, in terms of power and the military
It's a power.
capability.
It's a matter of power.
It's
You
an
mentioned
empire
the matter.
power. And
Yeah,
so now the...
used to be British because they were powerful at that time.
But now
before,
it's American.
Before 1945, I mean, before the Second War.
So the Western imperialists of British and France are now the American imperialists in the minds of many people who were
if
brought
you
up in
say
that
so.
tradition. No, I'm just curious. What do you think? Does much of the world see the United States as an imperialist empire, expansive power in terms of the way the world's organized?
Not really.
You don't think so?
In
They
a way,
did with
also.
the British, but they don't with the Americans. Or what's the difference?
It's two different things. Because
Okay.
the British used to, occupy the country.
Like we've
Stay.
done in Iraq?
Yeah, that's correct.
So then that thing
The
in
British
Iraq
did
is
this
similar.
with Egypt, did this with the Syria did this with the, I mean, some part in Africa. They did with Iraq. Iraq also was British at that time. So they did, but the American now, they are not occupying Egypt or other countries.
Not directly. They have a neoliberal
maybe
thing.
different things, different in, you know, kind of relationship between the two countries, especially financial.
There's the difference between out-and-out colonial power with Tommies and Gatling guns and power and that sort of thing, and then just controlling all of the financial institutions and everything. And you have people who will associate themselves with the American. And the American presence or the American consciousness wants to assume that it's the good guys in the world and that we represent the tide of history and that we are, in a certain sense, historically legitimate. Do you understand? I don't know if the British assumed they were legitimate when they were in the Raj in India. They thought they were legitimate, represented civilization, those kind of principles.
Yeah, I think so.
They don't see the United States in that position. Do the people in the Arab or Muslim world see the United States in those terms in some degree? If you can understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, in some degree, they see that the Americans still have democracy. I mean, they see American, they establish the democracy and still have democracy. And that's what I think, the Americans still have democracy.
You think?
Yeah.
I was asking
even
what you
with
think
all
your fellow
these things,
Muslims think.
if there are any problems and other things, because each system has some problems, but Americans still have democracy. That's my point of view.
That's your point of view.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. That's all. And you know, and then we you know, that's the heck of it, Abdul.
Yeah.
It's too damned interesting. We could talk to you for 15 hours easily. But we got to go on with your life story in a sense because you were in Egypt, you did your thing, you worked in television, then you came to America when?
Back in 1980, a long time ago.
1980.
Yeah.
That's not so long. It's only 27 years.
27 years.
Seems long.
Yeah.
And have you noticed the time goes faster as you get older?
Yeah, we get older.
I hate to have to tell you all that, young fellas out there. It just seems to go faster the older you get.
You never feel it, you know.
But you came and you did your doctorate here, and you went
Now
to
I started with Columbia College. Again, I wanted to study film, motion picture.
You were into film, yeah.
I was in Hollywood. And I went to Columbia College, very famous for film and television.
Yes, indeed.
So I want to be in film, but you know, competition is high. And,
yeah, it's a tough business.
Tough business in Hollywood.
Were you able to realize a film or ever make a film? Or
yeah, I made documentary.
A documentary?
I made a lot of dramatized documentary, docudrama. Docudrama. I made docudrama.
And where would you distribute, or how would you distribute?
Television.
On television, within what networks?
In Egypt and some Arab channels.
You had done that in Egypt before you left?
Arab channels, back and forth, you know. Even now I do the things and some Arab channels.
So your work will be picked up and carried on the some of the Arab channels in the Middle East?
Satellite channels.
I beg your pardon?
Satellite channels.
Satellite now. It's all uniting that kind of thing.
Yeah, we have a new one commercial now, like Al Jazeera, and we have ART. This is a new one, started 1990 something, and I've been cooperating with them. Even things they make interviewees, they shot in this country, they shot in the.
I think it would be wonderful to have somebody here who understands that culture doing programming here and then putting it back into the Middle East.
Right. They need
that's
to know,
a role that you can help play, and that's a very important role.
Very important. They love to see something different and something they don't know. I mean, if you make an interview with Harold now, and he's talking, Americans talking, they like to hear and listen. What
they want to hear.
To hear his impression. Same thing as you listen to me now. Same thing.
I would like, if I may, as an American, it seems to me it's been very one way. The cultural thing has been America influences the world with their culture and with their television, and people see us. And I would like it if there was more, if I turned on my television set in New York here, I get 500 channels now or something.
Yeah.
There's so many channels. I would like it if Al Jazeera was right up there with NBC and CBS, and it was just a presence here, the way America has been in that part of the world. They've had to look at that. They're beginning to develop their own. I would very much like to be able to have, I think they have Al Jazeera
They have it in English now.
They have it in English
I haven't seen it.
But it's not why it should be available right next to CBS or something. It seems to me
it's not available?
Because we are subject.
You don't see it?
I don't see it. Where do you see it? I don't know where.
It should be on cable. I mean, one of the cables gets.
Al Jazeera. Are you familiar or not? Does Al Jazeera English play on one of our cable channels in New York City? Do you
Yeah,
know?
someone told me. I didn't see it, but
You
I
haven't
know.
seen?
Yeah, but I know it's come to America. If you have the small dish,
Mm-hmm.
that what do you call it?
Direct TV?
Direct TV.
or
You can
yeah.
see the Al Jazeera and the other things.
Only there, but not on cable.
No, this is the best thing, the dish. Get you around the world.
Don't you think the people in the Arab world are sick of having American faces talking to them? Because that's what's been going. It's been a one-way street because there's so much Hollywood movies, music.
what you
It's
mean.
all one way, rather than our getting what the world thinks, much less the Arab
No,
world.
it's a kind of revolution. Media,
Yeah.
I call it media revolution now in the Middle East. So many satellite channels are on now, owned by some by government, the other one by individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And when you sit there in Cairo or Damascus, wherever, Baghdad, you see a lot of things. America, Europe, Middle East, everything you can see. So now the sky is open.
I can remember, because I've told you, I have a great admiration for the country of Libya. You don't, but I do. I have a great, from my own way of thinking, I think they're ahead of us in terms of the way they're going to organize the society. I think of it, they're sort of a way ahead of us the way the United States was ahead of feudal Europe in 1789.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, that they are ahead of the way the world's organized and the assumed legitimacy
No,
of the
this is your
United
point
States.
of view. I don't agree
Yeah,
with
this
you.
is my point of view.
I don't agree with you.
One good thing is there's so many different ways you can have a point of view.
I never been to Libya.
Oh, it's great.
And I know it's a neighbor, it's close to Egypt, but you know, I'm not very fond of.
Okay. Well, I am, but the point is they have CNN. You see CNN, but the international CNN, the news you get in Libya from CNN is better than what you get here in terms of a real view of the way the world is. It's almost up to like BBC standards.
No restriction, yeah.
Not that, it's just that it's not so propagandistic.
Oh.
Do you think the media is propagandistic on questions relating to the Muslim world in this country?
In the United States?
Yeah.
No, it's fair. Sometimes it's fair. I mean, I see it in the middle. I mean, they don't take sides. I mean.
You don't think so?
No, I don't.
On the
think
Palestinian issue, you don't think they take sides?
Maybe some
or
channels,
the Israeli
or
issue?
some channels, or some radio waves, or some stations. But they give you the facts sometimes. When I'm coming from Middle East and I come here and I see things and I hear things, I find they're telling you the truth.
You think the American media is?
Yeah.
You think that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting to me.
Yeah.
I just think we're subjected
No
to
one
it.
can hide anything now, because with this media revolution now, it's not like before. You have, I told you, you have so many satellite channels, so you are in your sitting room, living room, sitting with your control in your hand.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is good, isn't it?
so you can just travel around the world when you are in your sofa.
And if there wasn't enough, here comes public access with the voice of the people, which is if we didn't, you know, and that. But that's where I think some of the best.
It's a good move.
I think that's where
we
some
take
of
the benefit of.
I think that's where some of the best stuff is.
No.
I know we don't understand the world well enough, the United States citizen. We're not being as well educated to the realities of the variegated patterns in the world.
Yeah.
We're culturally centric, or we have this view. I think that one of the problems again is you brought into the program a tape, and if I'm not mistaken, it's having to do with a mosque or having to do with Muslim in America.
Living in America. Yeah.
Living in America. So I wonder if maybe you could talk a little bit about that tape, and then we'll run a piece of footage. I guess it's about 5 minutes. It's going to illustrate some of your thinking about Muslims in
as
America.
you know, I have a show on MNN, also public access television, about Muslim and Arab community living in the United States. And if, you know, I take interviews and I go to a location.
I know, we run into you all the time.
Yeah.
I see a lot over at UN and stuff.
Yeah, so the tape has a celebration of the holy month of Ramadan. I went to Ramadan. You know, once a year is the 30 days holy month of Ramadan. So I go to mosques and Islamic centers and other places, and I tape everything, and I take interviews, and people, you know, breaking their fast at sunset, and one of the imams explains the idea of Islam, and has Islam has nothing to do with violence as people think, and instigate terrorism, whatever.
Okay, that's a big issue that's in the news now.
That's the different things. Yeah.
Yeah, and so this piece, we're going to play a piece of tape, I guess, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, no, but where was it shot and that kind of stuff? And it's about 5 minutes, I guess, but maybe you could set it up a little bit.
Yeah,
the
no,
actual
no
tape.
more than 60 minutes. You can take some of these tapes, you know. The tape itself is half an hour, you know.
I see, yeah.
The show is half an hour.
We're going to take a little piece of it, and it's going to have some, and this was shot in New York City.
All in New York City.
All in New York City, and it's a piece of the Muslim community here in New York City and here in America.
Celebration of
And then we could come
Muslim
back and
event.
talk about what it means to be Muslim in America. There are some problems with that because there's a lot of prejudice directed against Muslims. And you understand?
In a way.
Well, you can help put it in perspective. But I wonder, maybe we could set that up then, okay? This is a good time to show that clip.
Yeah, sure.
So maybe we could set up, we're talking to Abdul Omar, Ph.D., filmmaker, television producer, journalist, and talking about the Middle East, Muslim. And so why don't we set it up and run that piece of tape? Now, I guess it runs about 5 minutes or so. So could you set that up and run it now then, please? Thank you. Well, we're waiting for the tape, and I hope they've got it set up. Maybe we have to try. Is there a little problem, George?
There's nothing in the decks. Where is it?
It's just on the shelf there.
I don't know.
I thought they had that set up. Okay, well, it looks like, why don't you try and set that up, George? Willie will know. So let's just continue talking. They didn't have it in the deck. So that would be it. This question about the Muslims in America, because you're here and you have an appreciation of that. Do you think there is, you seem to not think there's a strong prejudice directed against the Muslims. Maybe you could spell out a little bit. Muslims in America, have they been here since the beginning of the Republic or what? And what is the trend and what is the situation for people of the Muslim faith living in New York, or let's say living in the United States in your view?
No, they've been here for a long time. I mean, the first came...
They're going to send the tape now. Can we see the part? Oh, they're showing the tape now.
ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخرى. By the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most gracious, we speak about the month of Ramadan, the month of fasting, the holy month for all Muslims all over the globe. Allah revealed the Quran in the month of Ramadan, and we learn a lot in the month of Ramadan. The month of Ramadan teaches us how to be united, how to carry good manners, how to carry good taqwa. Taqwa in Arabic language, that means to be pious, righteousness, how you correct. The month of Ramadan teaches us how we spread peace between the Muslim and non-Muslim. Peace in Islam, it's very important. We learn in the month of Ramadan how to be patient, how to deal with the others, how to eat together, how we sit together to learn all the Islamic studies. In a matter of fact, we need to explain these benefits for all people to understand that this holy month came to correct the Muslim. During the whole years, people committing sins. But in the month of Ramadan, everybody come to ask Allah His forgiveness, Allah His repentance, and to correct himself, and to learn how you help the others, and to feel about the hungry people all over the world, to feed them, because the month of Ramadan teaching you how you stop food and drink and all desires. So when we learn that from the month of fasting, we learn to help the others, to give them food, to feel about their hungers.
talking about the importance of the Ramadan. That was an imam, right?
The imam, one of the imams.
Uh-huh. That was, and where was that shot? I mean,
this was in Manhattan, downtown, near the World Trade Center.
There are a lot of imams around. They have a big center up on 2nd and 96
92nd is
That's
96,
a big,
96 and 3rd Avenue.
that's a big, so the presence of the Islamic community is growing in leaps and bounds, as they say.
Now we have so many Muslims now coming from, you know, from the Muslim world, from the Middle East and other things, and they have other Muslims here. We're born a Muslim here.
There are more Muslims coming all the time.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Why they get freedom here? I mean, they feel, I mean, you're talking about prejudice. If they feel prejudice, they will leave. All of them, they will leave. But they are, you know, they comfortable.
Well, this is wealthy here. It's wealthy, so it's easier to live well. A lot of people immigrate because you've got economic opportunity to get better lifestyle.
That's right.
That's what most people immigrate about. Yeah. And that include freedom and that sort of thing. That's one of the benefits. So
freedom of religion. I mean, they give them a chance to worship, and so in a mosque or a masjid, or besides, of course, churches and temples and synagogues.
Well, a lot of the waves of immigrants that have come and formed the American body politic or the society have come for the same reasons. They came from Protestant countries and Catholic countries who were being persecuted.
When they had
and
some problems
in
their countries. Yeah.
And this country is pretty welcoming of everything and like that. But they've always usually had a pretty tough time. Some of the early Jews came from East Europe, and they had a heck of a time living in ghettos and had to fight. And every group that comes new, the groups that's already here, treat them badly. You know, they used to say, they used to have signs when the Irish came. No Irish need apply. Don't come Irish. Or the East Europeans. The prejudice is directed at the new group that's coming.
No, I wasn't here at that time, but I know that Muslims...
No, but it's a historical thing.
Yeah, Muslims are enjoying themselves. I mean, maybe very, very rare if you find someone who mistreat a Muslim or so. Very rare. It's not much.
You think it's rare?
Rare, very rare.
Even well, I've heard tell, okay,
some
Latinos are treated badly by a lot of people. The blacks who came here were treated pretty badly because they were slaves in the history of the country. You had that kind of thing. We still have remnants of racism. And people who want to see themselves as being the Übermenschen, the above, the overgroup. And then they're going to see the other group, and they have scapegoating and that sort of thing that is part, I guess, of...
I think that feeling, from my experience, it's very rare and it's not much. Today, with this population in the United States and with the newcomers and the new immigrants and this kind of thing, these things, and the big cities like Los Angeles and New York, you don't see these things.
You don't think you see prejudice
melting pot? What do you call it?
I beg your pardon?
A melting pot?
Melting pot. Well, I hope you're right on that. I'm not sure it is, and it's the land of opportunity. If you work hard, you can do that. Okay. So you have a positive view of the United States as a place of great welcome.
Actually, I would like to mention something. We have a program called Interfaith Program.
Uh-huh.
Not TV program event.
Yeah, right.
Interfaith. We invite non-Muslims to this program.
Mm-hmm.
Jews, they come, welcome. Mm-hmm. Christians, they come. And imams, and they talk, have a dialogue freely. And everyone express himself and explain his belief to the other. If he misunderstanding, if the Jew doesn't understand Muslim, or Muslim don't understand, everyone talks freely and with love. And I taped some of this interfaith program and I put it on public access television.
Do we have some of the, we have another clip, right? We have another...
No, I'm sorry, I don't have this ready.
No, you don't have that one, but we have another one.
Yeah, we have another one.
What is the other one that you have? Maybe you could set up, we could try and run that, the other piece of tape we're going to run.
Same thing, Ramadan, but the way they celebrate Ramadan. At the time when sun come down and sunset, so they go to have some food and they get together and this kind of thing. That's what.
Well, okay, let's hope we got it set up. And in the booth, if you could set it up, that other piece, and I guess that goes for about 4 or 5 minutes also,
yeah,
right?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. And so we're talking again with Abdul Omar, and let's set that up and run that other piece now then, if you could. It's more elucidating.
Oh, this is
حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
We can talk about this guy.
الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
His talk today, and we have also another Qari from Egypt, Sheikh Muhammad Basuni. We're still waiting for him. Beside our regular Taraweeh and beside, inshallah ta'ala, whatever question and answer we can assist you with. I'm reminding everyone too, for the Zakat al-Fitr, before it's too late, before Al-Eid, you should really take care of your Zakat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, REC.
Yeah, okay.
Years ago for telling us we went around the sun.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well that's an actual thing. That was during the holy month of Ramadan.
That's true.
one of the 5 major pillars, right?
That's true. That's you understand that.
Well, I don't understand it well, but
well, you have a good information about that.
could you give me some idea? So you're here among the people. You have a wide circle of people from the Islamic community here in North America and New York and so forth. What is the feeling about what is going on in Iraq? What do you think is the heartfelt feeling of the Muslim population about what we've done in Iraq?
You need another show for that.
No, it just
is a big topic. I mean, Iraq is it's a big disaster for the Middle East now.
It's a big disaster for the Middle East.
Of course.
And the United States has made a blunder.
Wasn't right. That move was wrong.
Did the Muslims in America? There was, remember, on February 15th, there was a big before the war started, there was a big demonstration all over the world. Were the Muslims demonstrating against the idea that we were going to go to war larger than was their proposition more than the population as a whole?
That's true. People here,
I
meet a lot of people who don't like this action. I don't like this move. And that decision was wrong. And what happens now, I don't know what they have in their mind who took this decision, but so many people suffered. Here they suffered, the Middle East suffered, Iraq suffered, everyone suffered. I mean, the population of Iraq, those people, and I feel sorry for them, what they get every day they never had this with Saddam Hussein. Even Saddam Hussein was...
I got my friend Nita. You know Nita Renfrew? Have you been singing? You know Nita? I'm not sure if you've been in the similar
no,
parties and stuff. Nita's very
I
smart.
don't
She
remember.
wrote,
No.
she wrote a definitive book on Saddam Hussein. She said he was secular. The women were 60% of the parliament. So they were secular, women's rights. They were about to be made into a first world nation by the non-aligned nations and everything. He was pan-Arab in his thinking and so forth. And that he held the nation together. She said he was rather like Tito,
This is
or
correct.
maybe Abraham Lincoln
That's
in
right.
the United
That's
States of
right.
America.
That's right. Tito,
And
he
then-
may
and-
be a good example, Tito, because he has so many ethnic and so many. But Saddam, under his rule, Iraq was united.
It was united, and there were a lot of people didn't like. She said he was normally about 60% approval, about like here for Reagan or something, and that it was like we were listening to when the Chalabi and these other people came and said, "Let's go and overthrow Saddam Hussein." It would be like listening to John Wilkes Booth or, the Confederate representatives. And Lincoln, when he was holding this nation together, was vastly hated by so many people. And it's like you're listening to the opposition to go over how terrible he is, and you got all that, but that he wasn't as terrible as anything out of sight.
I didn't live in Iraq.
And
but,
what was it that influenced this? Paul Wolfowitz was talking about invading Iraq back in the 70s. The neocon, Likud-connected group
back
that
in
ran this country, the neocon who's taken over this country, we're talking about invading Iraq in order to break it up. They've broken up Palestine. They've turned that into a mess. They've done that. Now they've gone and turned in Iraq. Now they're talking about going to bomb Iran.
And
So what is that all about? It seems to be perceived, I would think, by a lot of Muslim people as a animus directed against the Muslim world.
That's what they don't like. They don't like this idea because it's against Islam and Muslims. Some people like it against the Muslim world, not just the Arabs.
Right.
And
they're now scapegoat. That's why I'm surprised when you say you think the Muslims are so well accepted, because there's tremendous propaganda being directed at people who are Muslim.
well, I say Muslim, but as Iraq Muslim thinks that this is against was a bad move for Muslim and for Arab. That's right. But as for the other nation, they are enjoying themselves. They have no problems. The neighbors, I mean the neighbors.
The other neighbors. You
The
mean,
other
what you, India? Or I don't know what you mean. What other-
Pakistan is okay.
Pakistan is okay, you think?
Yeah, they have.
You
no-
don't think there's animus directed at the United States among the masses of Pakistan?
Well, but they
There's
have
great admiration for Osama bin Laden among the people in Waristan and in
Afghanistan.
and Afghanistan and Waristan
Afghanistan,
and
yeah.
in Pakistan.
And Pakistan.
And the greatest name that is given to boy childs now is Osama.
Osama bin
In
Laden.
Polar, what I'm trying to say is there is
Is a
a
popular-
animus directed against the United States as Rome, as an imperial power.
At that time, yeah.
By the is there not among the Arab world, and could there not be an extension of that out even to Indonesia or to Mauritania against the United States for their mess in Iraq that they've gone in with such abandon of all
There's a bad feeling,
rationality?
of course, in Indonesia also. They don't like this move, and as Muslims, they do not accept that, and they think this against them as Muslims against.
In the Muslim faith, I'm not a Muslim,
course.
but in the Muslim faith, you say it believes in peace, but it's also, as I understand it, help me set me straight here, you are not meant, if you are attacked, you have the right to protect yourself and your
Self-defense.
family against the attacker.
Self-defense.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So they do not see, they see themselves as resisting the attack by the United States upon the Muslim world, do they not? Much of the Muslim world.
Yeah.
And that much of it that comes out through Al Jazeera and that kind of thing. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I didn't get that.
You don't think that...
We believe eye for eye, tooth for tooth.
No.
I mean, that you said.
No, that they have a right to defend themselves.
Of course, yeah.
The people in Iraq who are fighting the American forces are defending themselves against an occupation.
So this is the definition of terrorism. What is terrorism?
Well, no, but it's state terrorism by the powerful, and the United States is powerful, and the United States is going to oppress people all over the world in order to, they got military bases in 130 countries, and they're like that, and where is there a resistance, and they assume they're legitimate. The United States assumes it's got a pattern, It's rich, it's powerful, it's
That's
got a
right.
pattern for the whole world, full spectrum dominance, it's like an empire. And where does the Muslim world, why would the Muslim world want to accept that as something that is legitimate and not challenge it if it's
That's a good
keeping with
question.
some of the principles that resonate
Okay.
in the hearts of all good Muslims and people around the world?
All right, this is a
Is
good
there a large-scale resistance to American power emerging in the world, in your view?
I say that's a good question. We make a difference between the governments and the common people. I mean, the citizen of this country.
Always, yeah.
So the government accept that,
Hmm.
whatever a government.
They're all in league,
Oh,
like bandits.
yeah, that's right.
Okay,
But
yeah.
the people itself, common people, the citizen, population of this country do not accept that. I mean, they are against invading Iraq, against bombing Iraq, against what happened to Palestinian people, what's happened all over. I mean, this is two different things.
Two different things.
Yeah.
And it's not just the Muslim people. A good deal of the world is in opposition. I don't think the United States has ever, as a country, I'm an American for a long time,
Yeah.
I don't think they've ever been in lower esteem around the world. Mr.
Before,
Bush's
I know.
popularity, Mr.
I
Bush,
mean what you mean. Okay.
it's only down to 19%
I mentioned
now.
before that they like the democracy in the United States. They like America because it's a leader in many culture and other things. But for these actions, they don't accept that.
Only this action.
Oh.
Are you old enough to remember Vietnam?
Yeah.
Can you remember
60s.
your attitude? Were you in Egypt then, or were you here?
I
You
was
were
in Egypt at that time.
Can you remember what the attitude of the? See, that's more distant. That's on the other side of the world
Yeah,
from
yeah.
where Palestine
Yeah,
or
yeah,
Iraq, right? And everything. So it's not direct. But the idea of the force, 4 million, 3 to 4 million people we killed with
Killed.
napalm.
Yeah.
Can you remember the attitude of the your people you knew and the attitude?
Reaction
of the
was
people
bad too. Same thing because no need for that, for this killing and for this violence and this. I mean, for all these damages and this, for both sides, either the Americans or the Vietnamese.
Do you think the world is just? The way the world is set up, the power structure that exists in the world?
No. At this time?
Yeah.
No.
Has it ever been?
I don't remember.
No, I'm thinking back historically or that.
Maybe at that time, maybe a long time ago, before this technology, using the advanced technology now, the oppression is more now than before.
You think the oppression is more now?
Yeah, than before.
And the trend is for there to be a smaller, there's greater oppression by smaller number of people over the masses of the people?
Yeah, because if
Do
you
you
have
think-
if you have all these things in your hand, and what the science gave you, you can make control of the rest of the world.
And they do. So that the world is more oppressive, more dangerous, perhaps. And we have
More dangerous, not more dangerous. That's
we have
correct.
weapons systems that have been developing. The technology has been at the service of weapons, and the weapon systems are overwhelmingly more destructive than they have ever been.
That's true. But this
To
is
the
the
po-
danger of this time, of this age.
To the point where they could destroy the species, apparently. They're so powerful that they could destroy...
God gave him this mind to use it in peace. He used it to hurt other
If he'd
people.
followed Islam, they wouldn't be doing all these dumb things.
Well,
They would be living a life of peace.
Should
perhaps.
be.
Yeah, perhaps so. But they have this incredible capability now. And are you optimistic for the... And then we also have... and you have the masses of the people are not well served. The systems in place serve those who are already rich and powerful to make them more rich and powerful.
That's
everywhere.
That's what happened.
Everywhere.
Rich get richer.
And the poor get children.
Yeah.
There's an old song from the
That's
20s like that sort of thing. So that the system in place is not adequate in a certain sense. And the trends, what are the trends? Is it becoming more just, less just? What are the trends? And if the trends are not toward greater justice and equity for everybody, what is the, are you optimistic for the human prospect, or do you
that's
think
good question
revolution,
again. I
do you think revolution is blowing in the wind, or there's a revolution coming against American and the systems that claim to be legitimate historically?
Why just Americans?
By the people?
Why just
because that's the Rome.
Well,
America's
it could
the
be.
Rome,
It could
and
be.
now China.
Revolution could be all over. I mean, if you're
by
looking
the people.
for the justice and the
Yeah.
peace, and it has to be a revolution. That's right. Not just American, if you want just all over the world, and we need peace and peace welfare, and everything will be balanced. So what?
Do you think a revolution is in the wind by the people, because we live more and more to where people have some say on things and everything? The system does not serve the people. We have technological displacement in the productive process. We do not have systems in place that are going to be able to bring elemental justice to 60, 80% of the population of the world, and that they've never been able to do anything other than just do what they're told throughout most all of history. They've been sheep led around by the leaders, still is. But do you think it's beginning to stir to where there's a revolution of the people against the inadequate way in which the planet is operating for the benefit of the
should
few?
be. Should
do you
be.
think that's in
It
the
should
wind?
be. It's
Do you
coming.
think people are sensing that around the world?
Well, now we go back to the media and go back to with that advanced technology we have now, people have better knowledge than before.
Yeah.
So you know what's going on in each part of the world.
That's good, huh?
As long as, even if you are sitting in your living room, so you don't have to travel to China to know what's going on in China, or travel to Egypt to know what's going on in Egypt. Now you see camera show you everything. So the lens of the camera make you feel and test everything.
So
they have the power now to resist and have power to
bring a better world.
Reject.
To reject bad or to subsume the old and build a better.
Yeah, looking for better. Do you know this wrong, this is right? Do you see the bad thing, the good things? So people are in better situation now.
You know what I think the best thing should be is since it's the new media and it's the multimedia, it should be a documentary, presentations of a better kind of world and everything by somebody who really understands the Muslim world. Maybe he's had some experience in Egypt, maybe did some studying at Alexandria, and could present some of these really good perceptions to help make a better world. And I think that person might be Abdul Omar.
Thanks,
very
sir.
possibly, very much.
Thank you, sir.
I thank you for sharing all your thoughts.
Thanks
We've got
a
a
lot.
couple of minutes left, but it is.
This was my.
And I think there's going to be a thing from the Arab world or the masses or something is coming because
what you
it's
mentioned
required.
now, Harold, was my dissertation in my PhD.
Yes, please. What?
Was about the documentary and the role of documentary in improving the society.
Okay.
And that was my emphasis on this one.
Uh-huh.
And I know that documentary can play a big role in affecting our life, and by showing good things and bad things and other experience in different world.
Yeah, we haven't had that we haven't had that throughout all of our history. We only had print. We didn't have multimedia capability to influence consciousness.
But now it's much easier than before with all these new cameras now in our hands, with many DV and this digital things.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah, so
and
you can.
The internet and YouTube.
Internet, everything. So it's better than before. Make our role, our function much easier than before. So we can do that.
It may be that
me and you and all this.
All the good people, maybe Allah or God or whatever is bringing
media
us.
People. I mean, this have a chance to do something to our society.
It may be the most exciting time ever. There may be liberation and real liberation and well-led lives for everybody. That is the capability that we have now could begin to be realized in a way. One last thing, the Muslims, you have the notion of the 12th Imam among the Shia, the idea of a coming again of the